The Ice Age. A time when colossal glaciers stretched across the land, when towering mammoths roamed frozen tundras, and when early humans fought to survive in a world ruled by ice and giants. This was a time of extreme cold, powerful predators, and evolutionary innovation, a world that shaped not only the creatures that lived in it but also the very landscapes we walk on today. But what exactly was the Ice Age? The term Ice Age doesn't just refer to a single event, but rather a series of glacial cycles that have shaped Earth's history. These were periods when vast ice sheets covered massive portions of the planet, advancing and retreating over tens of thousands of years. Scientists believe the most recent Ice Age, known as the Quaternary Glaciation, began around 2.6 million years ago and lasted until approximately 11,700 years ago. Though the ice has long since retreated, its effects still shape our world today. During the peak of the last glacial period, massive ice sheets stretched across North America, Europe, and Asia, transforming the planet into a frozen wilderness. Some of these glaciers were more than 3 kilometers thick, crushing mountains and carving deep valleys as they advanced. Today, many of these landscapes remain as remnants of the Ice Age: fjords, Great Lakes, and vast open plains once buried beneath walls of ice. But the Ice Age was not just about snow and ice. In many regions, including what is now Africa and South America, temperatures were cooler but not frozen. This meant the Ice Age was a time of extreme contrasts. While glacier dominated the northern hemisphere, rainforests shrank, deserts expanded, and new grasslands formed. This changing environment forced animals and humans to adapt or perish. One of the most striking features of the Ice Age was the rise of the megafauna, the massive animals that dominated this frozen world. Imagine herds of woolly mammoths trudging through endless snowfields, their thick fur and massive tusks helping them navigate the harsh environment. Picture saber-toothed cats, with dagger-like fangs, stalking their prey in the cold, open plains. Enormous ground sloths, woolly rhinos, and the mighty short-faced bear, one of the largest carnivorous mammals to ever exist, ruled the Ice Age wilderness. These creatures were built for survival in one of the most challenging climates in Earth's history. But there was another survivor, one that would go on to shape the fate of the planet: humans. The Ice Age saw the rise of early human species, including Neanderthals, Denisovans, and early Homo sapiens, all struggling to survive against the elements and the massive predators of the time. These early humans developed new tools, mastered fire, and even created art, leaving behind stunning cave paintings that still survive today. The Ice Age was a period of evolution, adaptation, and survival for both animals and humans. But like all great eras, it had to come to an end. Roughly 12,000 years ago, the Earth's climate began to warm. The massive glacier melted, sea levels rose, and the great megafauna that once ruled the land began to disappear. What caused this shift? Was it simply natural climate change, or did early humans play a role? These are the mysteries that still puzzle scientists today. Though the Ice Age ended thousands of years ago, its impact is still visible. From the landscapes it shaped to the species that survived, its legacy is everywhere. Even today, animals like bison, muskoxen, and reindeer are distant echoes of that frozen past. And in the Arctic and Antarctica, the last great ice sheets stand as reminders of a world where ice once ruled the land. In this episode, we'll explore the rise of Ice Age giants, the survival of early humans, the extinction of the megafauna, and the lasting effects of this frozen era on our world today. The Ice Age may have ended, but its story is far from over. The Ice Age was not just a time of extreme cold, it was an age of giants. From massive, fur-covered herbivores to some of the most fearsome predators ever to walk the earth, the creatures that thrived during this time were uniquely adapted to survive in some of the harshest environments the planet had ever seen. These megafauna, or giant animals, were the rulers of the Ice Age, and their survival depended on their ability to adapt to freezing temperatures, vast landscapes, and intense competition. One of the most recognizable Ice Age giants was the woolly mammoth. These towering, elephant-like creatures were covered in thick fur and had a layer of insulating fat up to 10 centimeters thick to protect them from the freezing climate. Their enormous, curved tusks weren't just for defense, they were tools, used to break through ice to find water, scrape away snow to uncover vegetation, and even fight rivals during the mating season. Woolly mammoths traveled in large, matriarchal herds, much like modern elephants, and communicated using deep, resonant calls that could carry over great distances. Another Ice Age titan was the woolly rhinoceros, a distant relative of modern rhinos that roamed the cold, open steppes of Eurasia. Unlike today's rhinos, which live in warm climates, the woolly rhino had a thick, shaggy coat and a massive forward-facing horn that it used to dig through snow and defend itself from predators. These creatures were built for endurance, able to survive harsh winters by grazing on the tough, frozen vegetation that covered the tundra. But the Ice Age was not only home to enormous herbivores. It was also an era of terrifying, highly specialized predators. Among them was one of the most famous and deadly carnivores to have ever lived, the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon. The saber-toothed cat, a precision killer. The saber-toothed cat, or Smilodon, was unlike any big cat alive today. While modern lions, tigers, and leopards rely on speed and agility to chase down prey, Smilodon was built for a completely different hunting style. Its body was heavily muscled, with thick, powerful forelimbs that allowed it to wrestle large prey to the ground. Unlike modern big cats, which use their canines to deliver quick, suffocating bites to the throat, Smilodon's massive, 17-centimeter-long saber teeth were designed to deliver a single, devastating killing blow. These long, curved fangs were incredibly sharp but also fragile, meaning Smilodon had to be precise when using them. Scientists believe that instead of chasing prey over long distances, Smilodon relied on ambush tactics. It would hide in tall grasses, waiting patiently, before launching an explosive attack. With one swipe of its muscular forelimbs, it could knock down massive herbivores, pinning them beneath its weight. Then, with a precise bite, it would drive its saber-like teeth into the throat or underbelly, puncturing vital arteries and delivering an almost instant death. Unlike modern lions, which hunt in prides, Smilodon may have been a social predator, hunting in groups to take down large prey such as giant ground sloths and young mammoths. Fossil evidence suggests that some individuals suffered severe injuries yet survived long enough for their wounds to heal. This has led scientists to theorize that Smilodon may have lived in groups where members helped take care of injured individuals, much like modern wolves. But Smilodon was not the only terrifying predator of the Ice Age. Another fearsome carnivore stalked the frozen landscapes, the short-faced bear, a creature that dwarfed even the largest modern grizzlies. The short-faced bear, the apex predator. The short-faced bear, Arctodus simus, was one of the largest carnivorous mammals to ever walk the earth. Standing over 4 meters tall when on its hind legs and weighing more than a ton, this bear was a true Ice Age monster. Unlike modern bears, which have a stocky build, the short-faced bear had long, powerful limbs that made it much faster than its modern relatives. Scientists believe it could reach speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour, allowing it to chase down prey in open environments. But its name, short-faced bear, comes from the shape of its skull. Unlike modern bears, which have longer, sloping snouts, this bear had a short, deep skull with powerful jaw muscles, allowing it to crush bone with ease. Some scientists believe it was a hypercarnivore, meaning that it relied almost entirely on meat rather than a mixed diet of plants and meat like today's bears. The short-faced bear was an opportunistic predator and may have used its immense size to steal kills from other predators, much like modern grizzly bears do with wolves. It may have been able to intimidate packs of dire wolves or even drive Smilodon away from their kills. Its long legs allowed it to cover vast distances in search of food, making it a dominant force across Ice Age North America. However, despite its strength, it eventually disappeared as the Ice Age ended, perhaps because it was too specialized, unable to adapt to changing conditions as smaller, more flexible predators took over. One of those adaptable predators was the dire wolf, a close relative of modern wolves but built for the brutal challenges of the Ice Age. The dire wolf, strength in numbers. The dire wolf, Canis dirus, was larger and more robust than the modern grey wolf, weighing up to 80 kilograms with a stronger bite force and thicker bones. Unlike the fleet-footed wolves of today, which specialize in chasing down prey over long distances, the dire wolf was built for powerful, close-range takedowns. Dire wolves hunted in large, cooperative packs, making them one of the most effective predators of the Ice Age. They primarily targeted megafauna, including giant bison, horses, and even young mammoths. Working together, these wolves could overwhelm larger prey, using their numbers and strength to bring down animals much larger than themselves. Fossil evidence from the La Brea tar pits in California reveals that dire wolves often suffered from severe injuries, such as broken bones and crushed teeth, suggesting they engaged in violent struggles with powerful prey. Like Smilodon, they may have relied on their pack for support when injured, a behavior seen in modern wolves today. Despite their dominance, dire wolves eventually vanished around the same time as the Ice Age megafauna. Climate change and competition with smaller, more adaptable wolves may have led to their extinction. The end of the megafauna. Despite their incredible adaptations, most of the megafauna did not survive. As the Ice Age ended, warming temperatures changed ecosystems, reducing the vast grasslands that had supported so many large herbivores. Without enough prey, the giant predators Smilodon, the short-faced bear, and the dire wolf also began to disappear. But did climate change alone drive these giants to extinction, or was there another force at play? The Ice Age was home to some of the most famous megafauna in history: mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and dire wolves. But beyond these legendary creatures, a whole host of lesser-known animals thrived in this frozen world. Some were uniquely adapted to the extreme cold, while others survived by carving out their own ecological niche. These creatures may not be as famous, but they were just as extraordinary. Let's step back into the Ice Age and uncover the stories of some of the most fascinating, yet often overlooked, animals of this prehistoric world. The stag moose, a hybrid of power and grace. One of the most striking creatures of the Ice Age was the stag moose, Cervalcis scotti. Though its name suggests a hybrid, it was not a true moose or a stag, but rather an evolutionary cousin of modern deer and moose. Standing nearly 2.5 meters tall at the shoulder and with antlers spanning over 3 meters wide, this imposing herbivore roamed the woodlands and wetlands of North America. Unlike modern moose, which are stocky and built for deep snow, the stag moose had a more graceful, deer-like body. It thrived in cold, marshy environments, using its enormous antlers to fight rivals during mating season and perhaps even to defend itself from predators like Smilodon or dire wolves. Its long legs made it an excellent swimmer, allowing it to escape danger by diving into icy waters. Despite its size and adaptability, the stag moose vanished around 10,000 years ago, possibly due to habitat loss as forests changed, or competition from modern moose, which were better suited to the new post-Ice Age environment. The American cheetah, the Ice Age's fastest predator. When we think of cheetahs, we imagine the open savannas of Africa. But during the Ice Age, a different kind of cheetah roamed North America, one that was built for speed in a world filled with towering megafauna. This was Myrasinonyx, the American cheetah, a big cat that looked remarkably similar to modern cheetahs but was actually more closely related to cougars. Standing about 90 centimeters at the shoulder and weighing 70 to 90 kilograms, the American cheetah was a sleek, powerful predator that specialized in high-speed pursuits. Unlike the ambush predators of its time, like Smilodon, the American cheetah relied on pure speed to hunt its prey. Scientists believe it was one of the fastest land animals of the Ice Age, capable of chasing down pronghorn antelope, which, to this day, remain one of the fastest animals in North America, possibly because they evolved to outrun this ancient predator. Unlike its African counterpart, Myrasinonyx lived in a colder, more varied climate. It likely hunted across grasslands and open forests, using its long legs, lightweight body, and sharp eyesight to lock onto prey from a distance before launching into a lightning-fast pursuit. But as the Ice Age ended and its habitat changed, the American cheetah disappeared. The giant beavers, builders of the Ice Age. Beavers are well known for their dam-building skills, but during the Ice Age, their ancestors took things to a whole new level. Meet Castoroides, the giant beaver, which grew up to 2.5 meters long and weighed over 100 kilograms, nearly the size of a black bear. These enormous rodents lived across North America in Ice Age wetlands, much like modern beavers, but their size made them formidable creatures. Unlike their modern relatives, which have sharp incisors designed for cutting wood, giant beavers had more rounded, curved teeth, suggesting that they may have eaten aquatic plants and bark instead of building extensive dams. The presence of such massive beavers raises an interesting question. Did they build giant lodges? Scientists aren't sure. Some evidence suggests they may have constructed shelters like modern beavers, but their massive size might have made them too slow and vulnerable to predators like the short-faced bear. The giant beaver disappeared around 10,000 years ago, possibly due to changing wetland environments and competition from smaller, more adaptable beavers that still survive today. The steppe bison, the true king of the Ice Age plains. While woolly mammoths tend to steal the spotlight, another massive herbivore dominated the Ice Age plains, the steppe bison, Bison priscus. Unlike modern bison, which are already impressive in size, the steppe bison was even larger, standing over 2 meters tall and weighing over a ton. It had huge, curved horns that spanned up to a meter across, making it one of the most intimidating herbivores of the time. Steppe bison thrived in the vast, open grasslands of Eurasia and North America, grazing in huge herds that could number in the thousands. These herds played a crucial role in maintaining the Ice Age ecosystem, keeping the landscape open and preventing forests from taking over the grasslands. Their survival depended on constant movement. Much like modern bison, they likely followed seasonal migration patterns, traveling hundreds of kilometers in search of fresh grazing lands. But they weren't alone. Predators like dire wolves, short-faced bears, and even early humans hunted them, often targeting the weak or injured. Remarkably, the steppe bison survived the Ice Age, but its numbers declined sharply due to human hunting and climate change. Today's American bison is a descendant of this mighty Ice Age survivor. The terror birds, last of the dinosaur predators. Long after the extinction of the dinosaurs, one group of terrifying, flightless birds continued to stalk the land, the Forus racids, or terror birds. Although they had been dominant predators in South America for millions of years, some of their last surviving relatives still existed during the Ice Age. Standing over 3 meters tall, these birds had huge, curved beaks that could deliver bone-crushing strikes to their prey. Unlike modern birds, they were fast runners, capable of chasing down small Ice Age mammals across open plains. Fossil evidence suggests they used their powerful legs to kick and stun prey before using their hooked beaks to tear through flesh. However, as mammals became more dominant, terror birds eventually disappeared. Their last relatives may have lived until around 15,000 years ago, before going extinct due to competition from new predators, including the rise of early humans. The Ice Age was a time of incredible biodiversity, filled with creatures that were highly specialized for survival in extreme conditions. Some, like the steppe bison, managed to survive to the present day, while others, like the American cheetah and giant beaver, faded into extinction. Each one had a role to play in the complex ecosystems of the Ice Age, shaping the world in ways we are only beginning to understand. But there was one species that would soon change everything, one that would rise to dominate the Ice Age world and beyond. That species was us. In the next section, we will explore how early humans adapted to the frozen world, fought for survival, and possibly played a role in the disappearance of many Ice Age giants. The Ice Age was a world of giants and brutal cold, where survival was a daily battle against both the elements and the predators that roamed the land. But amid the towering mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and endless frozen landscapes, one species fought its way to dominance: humans. Unlike the massive megafauna that roamed the Ice Age, early humans weren't equipped with thick fur, long tusks, or powerful claws. They weren't the fastest runners, the strongest hunters, or the best climbers. And yet, they endured. How? By adapting, learning, and using their greatest weapon, their minds. But the story of Ice Age humans isn't just about one species, it's about many. At different points in history, at least 3 different human species coexisted, each carving out a place for themselves in this frozen world. Neanderthals, Denisovans, and early Homo sapiens all faced the same harsh conditions but adapted in different ways. This is the story of how early humans survived the Ice Age, the innovations, the struggles, and the incredible resilience that allowed them to endure when so many other creatures did not. The Neanderthals, masters of the cold. The first Ice Age humans weren't Homo sapiens. They were Neanderthals, a powerful, stocky species of human that had already been thriving in Europe and Western Asia for hundreds of thousands of years before modern humans arrived. Neanderthals were built for cold weather survival. Their bodies were shorter and more muscular than modern humans, helping them retain heat more efficiently. Their noses were large and broad, which may have helped warm the freezing air before it reached their lungs. Everything about them was designed to endure the frigid conditions of Ice Age Europe. But they weren't just physically strong, they were intelligent hunters. Neanderthals lived in small, closely knit groups, moving across the landscape and using their knowledge of the land to find food. Unlike many animals that relied purely on instinct, Neanderthals learned from experience, shared knowledge, and passed down survival techniques through generations. Neanderthal hunting and tool use. Surviving in the Ice Age meant being able to hunt huge, dangerous prey. Neanderthals were skilled at taking down mammoths, woolly rhinos, and bison, using wooden spears tipped with stone points to bring down these massive animals. Unlike modern humans, who later developed projectile weapons like bows and atlatls, Neanderthals relied on close-range ambush hunting. They would work together, using strategy and strength to drive an animal into a trap or corner it against a natural barrier before attacking with spears. Some evidence suggests they may have even used coordinated tactics, with some members distracting prey while others moved in for the kill. The wounds found on Neanderthal skeletons are often similar to injuries seen in modern rodeo riders, suggesting they got dangerously close to their prey and often suffered serious injuries while hunting. But their ability to work as a group and their deep social bonds helped them recover and continue to survive. Neanderthals were also among the first humans to master fire, using it for warmth, protection, and cooking. Fire allowed them to survive the brutal cold nights, keep predators at bay, and cook meat to make it easier to digest, providing more energy and nutrients for their bodies and brains. But Neanderthals weren't the only human species that thrived during the Ice Age. Further east, another mysterious group of humans lived in the cold mountains of Siberia, the Denisovans. The Denisovans, ghosts of the Ice Age. Unlike Neanderthals, who left behind thousands of fossils and tools, the Denisovans remain one of the biggest mysteries of human history. So far, scientists have only found a handful of fossil fragments, mostly from a cave in Siberia known as Denisova Cave. But even with so little physical evidence, DNA studies have revealed an incredible story. Denisovans were a distinct species of human, closely related to Neanderthals but genetically different. They seem to have lived across Asia, from the freezing mountains of Siberia to the humid forests of Southeast Asia. Some evidence suggests that they adapted to high altitudes, meaning they may have been the first humans to live in the Himalayas and Tibetan Plateau. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the Denisovan story is that traces of their DNA still exist in modern humans. Scientists have discovered that some present-day humans, especially in Tibet and parts of Southeast Asia, carry genes inherited from Denisovans. These genes help them survive at high altitudes, allowing their blood to carry more oxygen in thin air. This means that even though Denisovans are extinct, their genetic legacy lives on. Like Neanderthals, Denisovans were probably expert hunters and toolmakers, surviving the Ice Age by adapting to extreme environments. But while Neanderthals and Denisovans were surviving in Europe and Asia, a new kind of human was beginning to spread, one that would eventually change the world forever. Homo sapiens, the thinking survivors. Homo sapiens, the ancestors of modern humans, first emerged in Africa before spreading across the world. Unlike Neanderthals, who were built for strength and endurance, Homo sapiens were built for adaptability and intelligence. They didn't just survive the Ice Age, they thrived by creating new tools, developing new hunting techniques, and working together in larger groups. One of the key advantages of Homo sapiens was their ability to invent and innovate. While Neanderthals were excellent hunters, their tools remained relatively unchanged for thousands of years. In contrast, Homo sapiens constantly improved their technology. They created bow and arrows, throwing spears, and even fishing tools, allowing them to hunt from a distance and expand their diet beyond large mammals. Homo sapiens also developed clothing, using animal hides to craft fitted garments that protected them from the cold. While Neanderthals likely wrapped themselves in furs, modern humans developed stitched clothing using bone needles, a major step in surviving harsh environments. Their ability to think creatively and adapt quickly made them incredibly resilient. They learned to store food for the winter, build better shelters, and develop early forms of social organization that helped them outlast other human species. And perhaps most significantly, Homo sapiens were the first humans to create art. Cave paintings, carvings, and early forms of storytelling began to appear, suggesting a deeper level of thought, imagination, and communication. This ability to share knowledge, pass down stories, and cooperate in larger groups gave them an edge in the struggle for survival. But even with all their intelligence and adaptability, early humans still faced immense dangers. The Ice Age was an unforgiving world filled with deadly predators, brutal winters, and constant threats to survival. In the next part, we'll explore how these early humans hunted, fought off predators, and built shelters, developing new ways to stay alive in the frozen world they called home. The Ice Age was an era of brutal survival, where every day was a struggle against the elements, starvation, and the ever-present danger of predators. For early humans, survival depended on three key things: finding food, defending against deadly animals, and creating safe shelters to endure the bitter cold. In this section, we'll explore how Neanderthals, Denisovans, and Homo sapiens perfected the art of hunting, learned to fight off apex predators, and built the first human shelters that allowed them to survive in one of the harshest periods in Earth's history. The hunt for survival. For early humans, hunting was more than just a way to get food, it was a matter of life and death. The Ice Age did not provide a steady supply of easy meals. Plants were scarce, fruits and berries were seasonal, and surviving on small animals alone wasn't enough. To survive, humans had to take down giant Ice Age beasts, from mammoths and bison to reindeer and woolly rhinos. But hunting these creatures wasn't easy. Ice Age animals were not just massive, they were also dangerous and highly adapted to their environments. A mammoth could crush a human with one stomp. A woolly rhino could gore hunters with its massive horn. A steppe bison could charge at deadly speeds. To succeed, early humans needed strategy, teamwork, and technology. Neanderthal hunting tactics. Neanderthals relied on strength, ambush tactics, and close-range combat to take down large prey. Their weapons of choice were thrusting spears, made of wood and tipped with stone points. These spears were not thrown, but used in hand-to-hand combat against massive animals, an incredibly risky hunting style. To compensate, Neanderthals developed ambush hunting tactics. Instead of chasing prey, they would lure animals into traps, lead them into bogs where they would get stuck, or force them into tight spaces like ravines where they couldn't escape. Fossil evidence suggests Neanderthals worked together in groups, surrounding their prey before moving in for the kill. The cost of this brutal hunting style was severe injuries. Many Neanderthal skeletons show broken bones, fractures, and deep wounds, injuries similar to what we see in modern rodeo riders who deal with massive animals up close. However, Neanderthal social structures were strong, and injured individuals were often cared for by their group until they healed. Homo sapiens, innovation and distance hunting. Unlike Neanderthals, Homo sapiens developed ranged weapons, which allowed them to hunt from a distance and reduce the risk of injury. The ability to throw spears and eventually create bows and arrows gave them a huge advantage in hunting. One of the greatest inventions of early humans was the atlatl, or spear thrower. This device allowed them to throw spears much farther and with greater force, making it easier to hit large prey without getting too close. This changed the game, giving them the ability to take down dangerous animals without putting themselves at immediate risk. Homo sapiens also hunted more strategically, often tracking herds for days and using the landscape to their advantage. Instead of ambushing prey up close, they would drive animals off cliffs, trap them in natural enclosures, or coordinate group hunts with large numbers of hunters. This teamwork and planning allowed them to hunt more efficiently and with less danger. By combining advanced tools, strategic hunting, and group cooperation, early humans were able to outcompete other predators and become the dominant hunters of the Ice Age. But that didn't mean they were safe, because they weren't the only apex predators on the land. The battle against predators. Ice Age humans weren't just hunters, they were also prey. The Ice Age was home to some of the most deadly carnivores in history, and early humans had to learn how to defend themselves against animals that were bigger, faster, and stronger. The saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, was one of the most fearsome predators of the Ice Age. Unlike modern big cats, which rely on speed and endurance, Smilodon was built for ambush attacks. It had powerful forelimbs to pin down prey and massive 17-centimeter long canines that could pierce through flesh with one deadly bite. For early humans, Encountering a smilodon was terrifying. These predators did not chase prey over long distances. Instead, they would hide in tall grass, lurk near water sources, or wait in dense forests, ready to launch a surprise attack. If a smilodon got close enough to a human, it was usually too late to escape. To defend themselves, early humans had to develop group strategies to scare off big predators. They used fire, loud noises, and throwing weapons to deter large cats. In some cases, they may have even used traps or poisoned spears to take down aggressive predators before they became a threat. The dire wolf was larger and stronger than modern wolves, and it hunted in large, coordinated packs. A single dire wolf was dangerous, but a pack of 20 or more was nearly impossible to fight off. Early humans living in dire wolf territory had to constantly be on guard. Wolves hunted in groups and could track humans over long distances, waiting for weak, isolated individuals to stray from their group. The best defense against wolves was sticking together. Early humans lived in small groups and rarely traveled alone, knowing that wolves would attack the weak, elderly, or young. Some groups may have even formed relationships with less aggressive wolves, leading to the eventual domestication of the first dogs, an alliance that changed human survival forever. The short-faced bear was the largest land carnivore of the Ice Age. Standing over 4 meters tall on its hind legs and built for speed, it was both a scavenger and a predator, capable of chasing down prey at 50 kilometers per hour. For early humans, encountering a short-faced bear was worse than facing a smilodon or a dire wolf. Unlike most predators that hunt and leave, this bear could dominate an entire hunting ground, scaring off every other predator, including humans. To survive, early humans had to avoid these bears altogether. They stayed away from known bear territories, traveled in groups, and built strong, defensive shelters to keep them out at night. Building the first shelters. Fire and weapons weren't enough. Early humans also needed safe places to sleep. In a world where temperatures could drop below -40 degrees Celsius, and predators could attack at any moment, having shelter meant the difference between life and death. Neanderthals built simple rock shelters and lived in caves, using fire to keep warm. Homo sapiens, however, developed more advanced structures, using wood, bones, and animal hides to build the first portable huts. In some regions, early humans even built entire villages out of mammoth bones, creating wind-resistant structures covered in animal furs. These shelters were crucial for staying warm, protecting food, and keeping predators out. Through hunting strategies, weapons, teamwork, fire, and shelter, early humans not only survived the Ice Age, they thrived. They outcompeted predators, defended themselves from massive animals, and adapted to freezing climates. But as time went on, a new challenge arose, one even greater than predators or the cold: competition with other humans. In the final part, we will explore how early humans fought, formed alliances, and eventually became the only surviving human species on Earth. The Ice Age was a world filled with challenges: brutal cold, deadly predators, and scarce food. But the greatest challenge of all was one that no animal had ever faced before: the fight between different human species. For hundreds of thousands of years, multiple human species shared the Earth, each one adapting to different environments in its own way. Neanderthals dominated Europe and parts of Asia, Denisovans thrived in the high-altitude mountains of Siberia, and Homo sapiens, the ancestors of modern humans, were expanding across the globe. But in the end, only one species survived. In this final part, we will explore the mystery of what happened to the other human species. Did they die out naturally, unable to adapt to changing environments? Did Homo sapiens outcompete them for resources? Or was there direct conflict, a prehistoric battle for dominance that decided the fate of humankind? This is the final chapter of the greatest survival story ever told. The Neanderthal decline. Why did they vanish? For over 400,000 years, Neanderthals were the dominant human species in Europe. They were strong, intelligent hunters, perfectly adapted to the Ice Age cold. Yet, around 40,000 years ago, they suddenly disappeared. Scientists have debated what happened to them for decades. Here are some of the leading theories. 1. Climate change and food scarcity. The Ice Age wasn't just one long period of cold, it was filled with cycles of warming and cooling, where temperatures could shift dramatically over just a few centuries. Neanderthals were built for cold weather, but as the climate began to change, their environments shifted from tundra to forests, forcing them to hunt in new ways. Neanderthals had specialized hunting strategies that worked well in open landscapes, where they could ambush large prey like mammoths and bison. But as forests spread across Europe, large prey became less common, and hunting required more speed, stealth, and ranged weapons, areas where Homo sapiens had the advantage. Without enough food, Neanderthal populations began to shrink. 2. Outcompeted by Homo sapiens. When Homo sapiens arrived in Europe roughly 45,000 years ago, they brought new tools, new strategies, and more advanced hunting techniques. Unlike Neanderthals, who relied on close-range spears, Homo sapiens used bows, throwing spears, atlatls, and cooperative group hunts that allowed them to target a wider variety of prey. They were also better at storing food. By developing dried meats, smoked fish, and preserved plants, they could survive periods of starvation much better than the Neanderthals. This technological edge gave them an advantage in competition for resources. As Homo sapiens spread across Europe, Neanderthals were pushed into smaller, isolated regions. Their numbers declined, and over time, they disappeared. 3. Interbreeding and absorption. One of the most fascinating discoveries of modern genetics is that Neanderthals didn't entirely disappear, they became part of us. DNA studies have shown that most modern humans, except those with purely African ancestry, carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. This means that before Neanderthals went extinct, there was interbreeding between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Instead of simply being wiped out, it's possible that Neanderthals were absorbed into the larger Homo sapien population, with their genes continuing in modern humans today. However, interbreeding alone doesn't fully explain their disappearance. Some scientists believe that competition for resources and environmental changes still played a role in their decline, with interbreeding only happening in small numbers. The Denisovans, the mystery humans. While Neanderthals left behind thousands of fossils and artifacts, the Denisovans remain a mystery. Scientists have found only a few fossils, mostly from Denisova Cave in Siberia, yet DNA evidence suggests that they once inhabited vast areas of Asia. What makes the Denisovans even more intriguing is that their DNA still exists in some modern human populations. Tibetan and Southeast Asian peoples carry traces of Denisovan DNA, which is believed to have helped them adapt to high-altitude living. Like the Neanderthals, the Denisovans eventually disappeared. But because their fossil record is so scarce, scientists still don't know why or when they vanished. Some theories suggest that Homo sapiens outcompeted them, just like they did with the Neanderthals. Others believe that interbreeding with Homo sapiens led to their gradual disappearance, or that small, isolated Denisovan populations simply died out as climate changes altered their environments. The mystery of the Denisovans is still one of the biggest unanswered questions in human history. Did early humans fight each other? With so many different human species coexisting, one of the most debated questions is, did Homo sapiens actively kill off Neanderthals and Denisovans? Some archaeologists believe that direct conflict may have played a role in their extinction. Evidence of violence in ancient human fossils suggests that early humans were no strangers to war. As Homo sapiens moved into Neanderthal territory, there may have been clashes over hunting grounds, shelters, and resources. However, no direct evidence of large-scale warfare between human species has been found. If conflict did occur, it may have been sporadic, small-scale skirmishes rather than an all-out war. Instead, most evidence suggests that competition for food, better survival skills, and interbreeding were the main reasons Homo sapiens outlasted the other human species. The last known Neanderthals did not disappear all at once. While most of their populations declined around 40,000 years ago, small groups of Neanderthals continued to survive in isolated pockets for thousands of years after that. The very last Neanderthals are believed to have lived in southern Spain, Portugal, and Gibraltar, surviving until around 30,000 years ago. Here, they clung to existence, trying to adapt to a changing world. But in the end, their numbers dwindled. The last pure Neanderthal eventually died, and their species disappeared forever. The dawn of modern humans. By 30,000 years ago, Homo sapiens were the last remaining human species on Earth. They had outlasted Neanderthals, Denisovans, and many other early hominins that once shared the planet. But the challenges were far from over. The Ice Age was still raging, and early humans had to continue adapting, innovating, and fighting for survival. And then, roughly 12,000 years ago, the world changed forever. The Ice Age ended. The glacier retreated, forests spread, and temperatures rose. The age of Ice Age giants was over. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, and saber-toothed cats vanished. The Ice Age megafauna went extinct, leaving only traces of their existence behind. With the Ice Age over, early humans shifted from hunter-gatherers to farmers, building the first civilizations that would shape the world as we know it today. This is where the story of Ice Age survival ends, but where the story of human civilization begins. From the harsh tundras of Ice Age Europe to the frozen mountains of Siberia, early humans fought, adapted, and evolved to become the dominant species on Earth. They were not the strongest or the fastest, but they were the most resourceful. The story of the Ice Age is not just a story of extinction, it's a story of survival. And we, as modern humans, are the final chapter in that story. The Ice Age was one of the most extreme climate events in Earth's history, a time when glacier covered vast portions of the planet, reshaping landscapes and driving evolution in both animals and humans. But what caused these cycles of freezing and warming? And more importantly, what can they teach us about climate change today? In this section, we'll explore the forces behind the Ice Age, how climate change shaped the planet, and how the world transitioned from a frozen wasteland to the warm, modern Earth we know today. What caused the Ice Age? The Ice Age wasn't a single event, it was a series of glacial and interglacial periods where temperatures fluctuated over tens of thousands of years. Scientists have identified multiple ice ages throughout Earth's history, but the most recent one, the Quaternary Ice Age, began about 2.6 million years ago and only ended around 11,700 years ago. So what triggered this long period of freezing temperatures? 1. The Milankovitch cycles, Earth's wobble and orbit. One of the biggest drivers of ice ages is Earth's position in space. A scientist named Milutin Milankovitch discovered that the Ice Age cycles are linked to three major changes in Earth's orbit. Eccentricity. Earth's orbit shifts from being nearly circular to more elliptical over 100,000-year cycles. When the orbit is more elongated, there are bigger differences between seasons. Axial tilt. The tilt of Earth's axis changes slightly over 41,000-year cycles, affecting how much sunlight different parts of the planet receive. Precession. Earth wobbles on its axis like a spinning top, shifting the timing of seasons over 26,000-year cycles. When these cycles align in a way that reduces the amount of sunlight reaching the northern hemisphere, winters become colder, and glaciers start expanding. Over thousands of years, this gradual cooling leads to the formation of massive ice sheets. 2. The role of greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide and methane, play a huge role in Earth's climate. During ice ages, CO2 levels dropped significantly, reducing the greenhouse effect and allowing temperatures to plummet. Scientists have analyzed ice cores from Antarctica and Greenland, which contain tiny air bubbles trapped over hundreds of thousands of years. These samples reveal a direct link between CO2 levels and global temperatures. When CO2 is low, ice ages occur. When CO2 rises, the planet warms. One of the biggest mysteries of the Ice Age is what caused CO2 levels to drop. Some scientists believe it was due to increased ocean absorption of CO2 during colder periods, more plant growth, which pulled CO2 out of the air, changes in volcanic activity, reducing CO2 emissions. This delicate balance between CO2 and temperature meant that once ice sheets formed, they helped lock the planet in a cold state for thousands of years. 3. Ocean currents and ice sheets. Oceans play a massive role in regulating Earth's climate. During the Ice Age, ocean currents changed dramatically, affecting weather patterns, rainfall, and even the spread of glacier. One of the most important systems was the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC, which moves warm water from the tropics toward Europe and North America. When too much ice melted, it disrupted this system, causing rapid climate shifts. For example, Scientists believe that massive glacial meltwater floods, like the Younger Dryas event around 12,800 years ago, triggered sudden climate swings that caused mini ice age conditions in parts of the world. How the Ice Age shaped the world. The Ice Age wasn't just about cold temperatures, it completely transformed the planet's landscapes. 1. Carving out the land. Glaciers acted like massive bulldozers, carving out valleys, lakes, and mountains as they moved. Many of the landscapes we see today were shaped by these massive ice sheets. The Great Lakes in North America were formed by retreating glacier. Norwegian fjords were carved by Ice Age glacier cutting deep into the land. The Alps, Rockies, and Himalayas were reshaped by glacier grinding through rock. Even after the Ice Age ended, these features remained, serving as a permanent reminder of the frozen world that once existed. 2. The creation of Ice Age deserts. While some parts of the world were covered in glacier, other areas became dry, barren deserts. With so much water trapped in ice sheets, rainfall decreased, causing massive dust storms in places that were once fertile. Regions like the Sahara Desert expanded, while grasslands became scarce. This forced animals and humans to migrate in search of food and water, shaping early human migration patterns. The end of the Ice Age, the Big Melt. Around 12,000 years ago, the Ice Age finally came to an end. Temperatures began to rise, glaciers started retreating, and the world underwent a massive transformation. But what triggered this sudden warming? 1. Rising CO2 levels. Ice cores show that CO2 levels began to rise dramatically around 12,000 years ago. As the planet warmed, more ice melted, releasing stored CO2 and accelerating the process. This created a positive feedback loop. Warmer temperatures led to more melting, which led to more CO2, which led to even more warming. 2. Shifting ocean currents. As the glacier melted, huge amounts of fresh water flooded into the oceans, disrupting ocean currents like the Gulf Stream. This change redistributed heat around the planet, pushing Earth into a warmer state. 3. Volcanic activity and sunlight. Some scientists believe that changes in volcanic activity and shifts in solar radiation helped tip the balance toward warming. With more sunlight reaching the surface and fewer cooling volcanic eruptions, the planet moved away from the Ice Age cycle. The impact on humans and animals. The end of the Ice Age completely changed life on Earth. 1. The megafauna extinction. As the planet warmed, many of the giant Ice Age animals couldn't adapt fast enough. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, and saber-toothed cats all disappeared, either due to habitat loss, as forests replaced open tundras, competition with humans, as hunters targeted large animals, food scarcity, as Ice Age plant life vanished. 2. Human civilization begins. With the Ice Age ending, early humans shifted from hunter-gatherers to farmers. The stable, warm climate allowed for the rise of agriculture, leading to the first permanent settlements, the domestication of plants and animals, the foundation of early civilizations like Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. In many ways, the end of the Ice Age was the beginning of human civilization as we know it. Conclusion: what the Ice Age teaches us about climate change today. The Ice Age was a powerful example of how climate can reshape the world, affecting landscapes, species, and entire civilizations. It also shows how small changes, like shifts in CO2 or ocean currents, can lead to massive transformations. Today, scientists study the Ice Age to understand modern climate change. By looking at how Earth's systems responded in the past, we can predict what might happen in the future. The Ice Age may have ended, but its lessons remain. Mythology and legends of the Ice Age. The Ice Age was a time of towering glaciers, colossal beasts, and human survival against impossible odds. But even after the Ice Age ended, its memory didn't vanish. Instead, it lived on in ancient myths, legends, and oral traditions passed down for thousands of years. Long before modern science, people tried to explain the remnants of the Ice Age, the strange fossils, massive bones, and sudden shifts in climate through stories of great floods, lost lands, and battles between gods and giants. Did our ancestors unknowingly preserve memories of the Ice Age through mythology? Could ancient flood myths actually be stories of melting glaciers? And did early humans base their stories of legendary monsters on real encounters with Ice Age creatures? Let's dive into the forgotten myths and legends that may be echoes of the last Ice Age. The Great Flood, a memory of melting glaciers? One of the most widespread myths across ancient civilizations is the story of a great flood that wiped out most of humanity. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the Bible's story of Noah's Ark, Hindu flood myths, and the ancient Greek story of Deucalion all speak of a time when the world was drowned in water. For centuries, scholars assumed these were just religious tales. But what if they were based on real events? The Ice Age connection. At the end of the Ice Age, around 12,000 years ago, the Earth underwent one of the most dramatic climate shifts in history. As massive glaciers melted, sea levels rose over 120 meters, 400 feet, swallowing coastlines and reshaping the world. Doggerland, a landmass connecting Britain to Europe, was flooded by rising seas, forcing humans to flee. The Black Sea deluge hypothesis suggests that a sudden flood around 5600 BCE may have inspired Near Eastern flood myths. The Younger Dryas floods, caused by glacial meltwater surges, created catastrophic tsunamis and reshaped river valleys. Could it be that our ancestors witnessed these massive floods and turned them into legends of gods punishing humanity? Even today, indigenous tribes in North America have flood stories eerily similar to Ice Age events. The Ojibwe and Cree tell of a time when their ancestors had to flee as ice cracked and melted, flooding their lands. It seems that these stories may not just be myths, but historical records passed down through generations. Giants and the bones of Ice Age beasts. Across the world, ancient cultures have legends of giants, massive beings that once roamed the land, only to disappear or be wiped out by gods or humans. The Norse Jotun, the Greek Titans, the biblical Nephilim, and the Native American Sitikar all describe giant humanoid beings that lived in a time before modern humans. But what if these stories weren't just imagination? What if early humans were actually discovering the remains of Ice Age megafauna and mistaking them for the bones of giant people? Mammoth bones, the origin of giant myths. Ancient people often stumbled upon massive Ice Age fossils, like mammoth skulls and femurs, buried in the ground. Lacking modern science, they had to interpret these bones based on what they knew. In Greece, the discovery of mammoth bones may have led to the belief in the Cyclops, giant one-eyed monsters. The skulls of mammoths have a large nasal cavity where the trunk once was, which could easily be mistaken for a giant eye socket. In North America, Native American tribes like the Comanche and Lakota told stories of thunder beasts that once roamed the land, likely inspired by mammoth bones they found on the plains. In China, some of the earliest dragon myths may have been influenced by Ice Age fossils, with mammoth tusks and large bones being interpreted as remains of ancient, snake-like creatures. Even today, we still uncover Ice Age fossils that reshape ancient myths. Could it be that our ancestors were simply trying to explain the remains of a world they never knew existed? The land of the dead, a frozen underworld. Nearly every ancient civilization has myths about a cold, desolate underworld, often ruled by dark gods or spirits. The Norse Helheim, the Greek Hades, and the Siberian realm of eternal ice all describe a land of cold, darkness, and endless suffering. What if these myths were inspired by real memories of the Ice Age? Imagine early humans wandering into glacial landscapes, seeing nothing but endless ice, frozen corpses, and a sunless sky during the long winter months. To them, this may have seemed like a gateway to another world, a realm where the dead walked, and the gods ruled over frozen souls. The Inuit people of the Arctic tell stories of Chikern, a ghostly spirit that haunts the tundra, and Tupilak, a creature of ice and darkness. These myths bear a striking resemblance to the real horrors of Ice Age survival, where a single misstep could mean freezing to death, being lost in an endless blizzard, or encountering starving predators. Even the legend of Hyperborea, an ancient Greek land of eternal cold, sounds eerily like the landscapes of Ice Age Europe and Siberia. Did travelers hear stories of these frozen lands and turn them into myths? The Thunderbird and the Last Flying Giants. One of the most persistent legends in Native American mythology is the Thunderbird, a massive, winged creature that brought storms and could lift entire animals into the sky. While some believe this legend may have originated from eagles or condors, others think it may be a memory of a real, prehistoric predator. The Ice Age's last giant birds. During the Ice Age, Teratorns, a group of enormous flying birds related to vultures, roamed the Americas. Some species, like Argentavis magnificens, had wingspans of up to 7 meters, 23 feet, making them some of the largest flying birds in history. Imagine early humans seeing these massive birds circling above, capable of snatching small animals or even children. Over time, stories of these creatures could have evolved into the legend of the Thunderbird, a sky-dwelling monster feared and revered by many tribes. Did myths preserve Ice Age history? The Ice Age may have ended thousands of years ago, but its memory has lived on in our myths, legends, and folklore. Flood myths may be ancient records of real glacial melt events. Stories of giants could have been inspired by the bones of Ice Age megafauna. Underworld myths might reflect the harsh realities of life in frozen landscapes. Legends of giant birds may be echoes of prehistoric flying predators. The idea that myths can preserve real historical events has gained attention in recent years. Some scientists now study ancient oral traditions as a way to reconstruct the past, believing that early humans passed down real memories through storytelling. So the next time you hear an ancient myth about lost lands, giant monsters, or great floods, ask yourself if it might be a story far older than we ever imagined. Because sometimes, legends are more than just myths. Survivors of the Ice Age, the animals that endured. The Ice Age wiped out some of the most incredible creatures to ever walk the earth. Mammoths, saber-toothed cats, woolly rhinos, and giant ground sloths all vanished as the world warmed. But not every species disappeared. Some adapted, evolved, and survived, proving that resilience is the key to survival. Today, many animals we see around us are direct descendants of Ice Age survivors, living echoes of that frozen past. From bison thundering across the plains to wolves that once hunted mammoths, to elephants that carry the DNA of their woolly ancestors, these creatures tell the story of those that endured. Let's step into the past and explore the true survivors of the Ice Age, the ones who defied extinction and still roam the earth today. 1. The bison, kings of the Ice Age plains. Bison were one of the most dominant herbivores of the Ice Age, thriving in the vast, open grasslands that stretched across North America, Europe, and Asia. These powerful animals survived where mammoths and woolly rhinos perished, making them one of the last great megafauna still alive today. Ice Age origins. During the Ice Age, 2 major species of bison roamed the planet. The steppe bison, Bison priscus, a massive, long-horned species that lived in Eurasia and North America. The ancient bison, Bison latifrons, the largest species of bison ever, standing over 2.5 meters, 8 feet, tall and weighing nearly 2,000 kilograms, 4,400 pounds. Both species were hunted by early humans and stalked by predators like dire wolves and saber-toothed cats. Despite this, bison endured, evolving into modern-day American bison and European bison. How they survived. Bison had 3 key advantages. Thick fur and fat reserves, perfect for surviving brutal winters. Herd behavior, living in large groups protected them from predators. Rapid adaptation, as the Ice Age ended, they quickly adjusted to new grassland environments. Today, wild bison still roam in places like Yellowstone National Park and the forests of Eastern Europe. They are the last living reminder of the massive Ice Age herds that once thundered across the land. 2. Wolves, the Ice Age's ultimate survivors. Wolves have been survivors for over 1 million years, thriving alongside some of the most dangerous predators in history. The Ice Age shaped them into one of the world's most resilient and intelligent hunters. Ice Age wolves versus modern wolves. The Ice Age was home to 2 major types of wolves. Dire wolves, Canis dirus, massive, heavily built wolves that specialized in hunting large Ice Age prey. Ancient grey wolves, Canis lupus, the ancestors of modern wolves, smaller and more adaptable. While dire wolves went extinct, grey wolves survived because they were more flexible hunters. Unlike dire wolves, which depended on giant prey like mammoths and bison, grey wolves could hunt smaller animals and scavenge when food was scarce. The domestication of dogs. One of the most fascinating parts of the Ice Age wolf story is that some of these wolves formed a bond with humans. Around 30,000 to 15,000 years ago, certain wolves began following human hunters, scavenging scraps and offering protection in return. Over generations, these wolves evolved into the first domesticated dogs, eventually becoming hunting companions that helped humans track prey, protectors that kept predators away from campsites, loyal companions, forming one of the most unique animal-human partnerships in history. Today, wolves still roam North America, Europe, and Asia, while their domesticated descendants, the dog, live in our homes as reminders of this Ice Age alliance. 3. Elephants, the last relatives of the mammoths. The woolly mammoth was one of the most iconic animals of the Ice Age. Yet, while mammoths disappeared, their closest relatives, the elephants, survived. How mammoths and elephants are connected. Modern elephants, particularly Asian elephants, share a direct genetic link to woolly mammoths. In fact, studies have shown that Asian elephants are more closely related to woolly mammoths than they are to African elephants. Scientists believe mammoths and elephants split from a common ancestor around 6 million years ago. But while mammoths adapted to cold tundras, elephants evolved for warmer climates, allowing them to survive when the Ice Age ended. Why did elephants survive, but mammoths didn't? Climate adaptation. Elephants lived in warmer regions that weren't affected by rapid Ice Age climate shifts. Diet flexibility. Unlike mammoths, elephants had a wider range of food sources. Less hunting pressure. Early humans focused more on mammoths than elephants, reducing hunting pressure. Today, elephants remain as the last living connection to the mammoths, with scientists even considering bringing mammoths back through genetic engineering by splicing mammoth DNA into elephant embryos. 4. Reindeer and musk oxen, the Arctic survivors. Not all Ice Age survivors are giants. Some animals, like reindeer and musk oxen, endured by staying in the coldest parts of the world. Reindeer, caribou. Reindeer are the ultimate Ice Age survivors, thriving in frozen tundras for over 1 million years. Unlike many other herbivores, they have thick fur and a fat layer for insulation. Large hooves that act like snowshoes, helping them walk on ice. The ability to see UV light, which helps them spot predators against snowy backdrops. To this day, reindeer still migrate across Arctic regions, living much like their ancestors did during the Ice Age. Musk oxen. Musk oxen are another ancient survivor, having roamed alongside woolly mammoths and saber-toothed cats. Their secret to survival? The warmest fur of any land animal, even thicker than a polar bear's. A defensive circle tactic, where they form a ring around their young to fight off predators, a strategy that once protected them from wolves, but failed against human hunters. Despite their Ice Age adaptations, musk oxen still roam Alaska, Canada, and Siberia, making them one of the last Ice Age megafauna still alive today. Conclusion: the legacy of Ice Age survivors. The Ice Age may be over, but its legacy lives on in the creatures that adapted, evolved, and endured. Bison still roam the grasslands, reminders of the ancient herds that once shook the earth. Wolves continue to hunt in packs, just as they did when mammoths roamed the tundra. Elephants carry the DNA of their mammoth ancestors, the last giants of a lost world. Reindeer and musk oxen still thrive in the Arctic, holding on to the same instincts that allowed them to survive freezing temperatures. These animals are living fossils, walking reminders of a time when the world was ruled by ice. They survived when so many others perished, proof that even in the harshest conditions, life finds a way. The Ice Age was one of the most extreme and transformative periods in Earth's history. It shaped landscapes, created legendary creatures, and tested the limits of survival for both animals and humans. We've traveled back in time to witness the rise and fall of giant megafauna, the struggle of early humans, and the mysteries of Ice Age legends that still echo in myths today. We've seen the survivors who still walk among us: bison, wolves, elephants, and reindeer, living relics of a lost world. But perhaps the greatest legacy of the Ice Age is how it shaped us. The Ice Age and humanity. Without the Ice Age, we wouldn't be here today. It forced early humans to innovate, adapt, and work together, laying the foundations for modern civilization. It pushed us to master fire, build shelters, and develop tools, changing the course of human history. It influenced the movement of our ancestors, shaping the world's first migrations, eventually leading us to every corner of the earth. We weren't the biggest, the the strongest or the fastest species to come out of the Ice Age, but we were the most adaptable. And that is why we survived when so many others did not. A world that remembers. Even though the Ice Age ended thousands of years ago, its impact is still all around us. The cliffs, valleys, and fjords we see today were carved by ancient glacier. The bones of mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and dire wolves still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. The stories of giants, great floods, and frozen underworlds remind us that our ancestors carried the memory of the Ice Age long after it was gone. Even now, scientists continue to uncover new fossils, new clues, and new mysteries about this lost world. The story of the Ice Age isn't finished, it's still being written. And perhaps one day, science will even bring back the Ice Age's greatest giants. The end of an era, but not the end of the story. The Ice Age was a time of incredible beasts, extreme climates, and human endurance. And though the ice has melted, its influence still shapes our world today. So the next time you see a wolf howling at the moon, a herd of bison moving across the plains, or an elephant raising its trunk, remember that they are more than just animals. They are survivors of an ancient time. They are the last echoes of a lost world. And they remind us that even in the harshest conditions, life finds a way. Thank you for watching. That brings us to the end of this journey through the Ice Age. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a world of giants, predators, and extreme survival, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries of the past. And remember, the Ice Age may be over, but its story is far from finished.